Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I am impressed with the poll that this article coming from Russia Today discloses or reports about. This poll comes from Germany, and with all this propaganda vomited on the Deutsche Volk, they still are able to see through this. Guys, that tells me that there is hope. There is hope with the German folk, and they were not brainwashed completely by the occupiers. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this. Russia Today, 9th of August 2023. Most Germans against sending long-range missiles to Kiev.Poll. 66% of respondents do not want Berlin to support Ukraine with Taurus missiles capable of reaching Moscow, according to a survey by RTL and NTV. So 66. In a normal country, in a normal circumstance, let's put it this way, would be 89. But hey, 66 is good enough. Most Germans are opposed to providing Kiev with long-range missiles that could potentially be used to hit targets deep in Russian territory, according to a new RTL and NTV poll released on Tuesday. What do we have there? What do we have there? That's the Luftwaffe now. Anyway, I think that's the, how do you call it, Bundeswehr. So a survey conducted by the Forces Research Institute on behalf of the two German channels found that only 28% of German citizens want their government to supply Ukraine with Taurus missiles. Okay, so that's even, better. Which carry a 500-kilogram warhead and have a range of about 500 kilometers, making them potentially capable of reaching Moscow. They will use them, the Ukrainians, and they will say it's a domestically created one, because they already made those articles about 3 weeks ago, and they yelled loud and clear that, hey, we developed our long-range missile systems. So when they receive these ones and they're gonna use them, they'll say, no, it was not Taurus, it was our missiles. Meanwhile, a clear majority of 66% reject the idea. Ukraine has been asking for a Taurus since at least late May. However, at the time, the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung newspaper claimed that some in the German government were skeptical of the request, doubting that Kiev would use the weapons sensibly. You gotta fucking be kidding me. Potentially allowing the conflict to, quote-unquote, escalate uncontrollably, which probably will. Anyway, they will send the Taurus because the leaders don't care what the population wants, because they know best. That's why we have democracy. You vote for me one time and I do whatever I want legally for 4, 5, 6 years, depending on how long my term is. Similar concerns were also voiced by German Chancellor Weasel Olaf Scholz, who said last month that he agreed with US President Biden that Western-supplied weapons should not be used to attack Russian territory, and the Ukrainians pinky promised. Last week, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, this is a tool, this is on someone else's payroll, not on German people. I give you 99% certain. Don't have evidence, but his actions were like everything against whatever the peacemakers wanted. Ruled out such deliveries, but hey, saying that they are not our top priority right now. That is just testing the waters, seeing how people react to that, and pointing out that the US had so far refrained from a similar move. So what do you have with the US? Are you married to US or something? If someone jumps off a cliff, are you gonna do it the same because they did it? That was his argument. The US didn't do it, so we're not gonna do it. You don't do it because you decide as an independent, sovereign country that is an idiotic proposition. But hey, not because they didn't do it, therefore, I'm not going to do it either. Is that how it works? That means you are a subordinate, or you have no personality, and so on. They will send it, they said they will send it already, so it's done deal. And the Ukrainians will hit Moscow and will say, these are not Taurus. No. The Russians are lying, and they're going to believe them as they believed them 3 minutes after the Ukrainians said the Kakhovka water dam of the Dnieper River was blown up by the Russians. And everybody said, yep, that's it. They did it. Why? The Ukrainians say. Did you hear that? That reminds me of a friend who was in front of a judge and for a traffic offense, I think he said he crossed an intersection on a yellow light. The officer said, no, it was red light. So this guy, who was a newcomer in the United States of America, went in front of a judge. Freedom, democracy, love, America, yeah, living in America. So he went over there. And it was the officer, it was this guy, and it was the judge. And the guy said, what do you say, Mr. Tralala? And he said, I crossed intersection on yellow, and I couldn't stop, and so on. The judge asked the officer, what color was over there? The officer said, was red. Okay, guilty. And the guy was like, but Your Honor, and the honor said this, didn't you hear what the officer said? You passed on red. So why in the fuck do you bother to go? Because this guy sees the judge often enough to be buddies. I know this kind of situations because I worked in certain circumstances when I saw how the people dealt with one another after the doors were closed and the public was out. Buddy, go for a drink? Yeah. Go for a Yeah, let's go. Direct experience, my friends. But according to Ukrainian lawmaker Egor Chernev, the stance is not shared by many German MPs. Earlier this week, he claimed that the key parties in parliament had reached consensus on the delivery of Taurus missiles. Finally, the ice has broken. We await an official decision, he stated. Yeah, while Germany and the US have so far dragged their feet on the delivery, no, they didn't drag their feet. They are just grooming us in accepting what's coming. Of long-range missiles to Ukraine, Kiev has already received Storm Shadow missiles with a range of over 250 kilometers from the UK. Last month, France also pledged to support the country with long-range Scalp rockets. After receiving Western-supplied long-range munitions, Ukraine reportedly used them to target civilian facilities. Okay, blah, 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 tra-la-la. Moscow has repeatedly warned the West against pumping Ukraine with weapons, arguing that military assistance would prolong hostilities but fail to change the ultimate outcome of the conflict. Ask and you shall be given. Basically, this was going on in Ukraine. Why? Because these guys, the organizers, they're not hurt. They're not hurt. So since they're not hurt, why should they change? They're still pumping until the people go to vote. These guys say, oh yeah, they will change the policy of pumping weapons in Ukraine when the vote with the elections will be, yeah. By that time, their mass media will do a job on us. On us, but we're going to be like this mass media disinformation, misinformation. Ping, ping, ping. Okay? Because we're not dumb, my friends. We're not dumb. We got their number. Not the telephone number, but the number on your... Okay, this is your Jersey number. 24. Let's get that out of here. Anyway. Here is, my friends, they will receive everything. Not receive, they will bring everything to fight the Russians. They will not give it. That's them. They will bring it to fight, and they will try everything. Depleting their whatever, because this is the war between these guys and that guy. That guy being Russia. It's not, oh, Ukraine fights Russia. That's been obvious from what? At least 5 years that this is going to end up like this. It was just going towards that direction. It was the same thing why, for instance, that guy, the most evil person in history, called Adolf, when he invaded the Operation Barbarossa, the Soviet Union, he said, well, if I wait, they will get stronger, but I'm not ready. So he was not ready, but if you would wait, those guys would get stronger, the communists. So he said, I'm going to do it now. And besides, he said a person should not start a war at 50-some. He should start it in the 40s. Anyway, why? Because at 50, 60, you become a little bit more, let's be politically correct, you become wiser. Biden is 1,000 years old, and look how wise he is. He's at it with Russia. So, okay. He has nothing to lose. He's dead already. 98% Biden is over there. So for him, if something happens like blue Christmas, he's already dead. So he doesn't give up. He did his life. He had his blah blah blah. He had his thing. How about you and I and your children, my children, your grandchildren, my future grandchildren? How about them? Who cares? Biden lived his life. He doesn't even know what's going on around him. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.